Afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Just going to give it another 20-30 seconds or so, and then we'll make a start. Just seeing another 2 or 3 people just logging in. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. I'm just going to say initially we've had a couple of technical issues this morning with GoToWebinar. So if for whatever reason you do get kicked out, then please just log back in using the same process that you started with. Just a few housekeeping rules before we start. So this session is being recorded. The session will be recorded, will be sent out to all attendees after the webinar. Everyone is on mute. The slides will be sent out to all attendees alongside the recording after the webinar. Any questions, please feel free to add questions into the question box as we go along, because there's members of the product team that are there that will be able to answer the questions as we go along, so we're not holding them all off until the end. And as I just mentioned there, if we do have any technical issues for whatever reason, please just log in using the original link. There's a few go-to functions here. So we've got the chat function, which is not obviously active today. We've got the question. So if you do have a question, please put it in the question box. This is the box with the question mark in it. The materials, so there's a little paper clip there. So if you do want access to the PDF of these slides, please click on that and you will have access to those PDFs. Just introducing you to the building services team. So we have Paloma, who is our senior product lead. She's in the background today answering some questions if need be. We've got Salim Visram is our industry manager. Matt Rogers is our product manager, who again is in the background there if we have any questions that he can answer. And then myself, Simon Quince, I'm the technical advisor for BSE. I'm sure you're all familiar with this, but we do have a building services sector webpage where you'll find all the information with regards to all building services qualifications. We also have a dedicated Green Skills webpage for our Green Skills quals, so the air source heat pump, EV charging, solar photovoltaic systems, and battery storage systems. So today we're going to be looking at the plumbing and heating, domestic heating, the 9289. So this is the new EPAs. Today's agenda, looking at the plumbing and domestic heating standard version 1.2, updates on the new pathways that are now available, endpoint assessments at a glance, resource requirements, structure and components, the endpoint assessment support materials, and again we'll have some time at the end for any question and answer. Again, I can't, so can't make it any more sort of important that if you can put questions in as we go along, we do have members of the team that can answer those questions, so we're not sort of bombarded with them at the end. So plumbing and heating standard, last update was in April 2025, version 1.2, the standard ST0303. Maximum funding 22,000. So all information there that's available. There's a plumbing domestic heating technician, so there's a link there to the Skills England webpage if you need any further information. So the new on program qualification 9289 is live. Obviously got the QAN number there. So to maintain the on program qualifications 9189 are aligned to the latest version. So there's some information there around registration dates, end certification dates, check any funding availability across the standard versions, funding bands, learner eligibility prior to registration, etc. Learners registered on LARS on standard version 1.0 must complete 9189, and learners registered on LARS on standard version 1.1 must complete the 9289. So there's a copy of the previous webinar that was in the link there for any further information that you might require. So the current version, 9289, version 1.0, last registration, endpoint assessment, 31st of 12th, 2029. So this is for the 9189252627. Funding with 21,000, and then we've got the new standard version 1.2. So the start date EPA 19th September 2025. This is for the 9289 12, 13, 14, and 15, and the funding band for this is 22,000. Today we're going to be looking at the 9289 13, which is the environmental pathway, and also the 9289 15, which is the gas heating with matters of gas safety. So with regards to Gateway, evidence that they've fulfilled the English and maths requirements in line with the apprenticeship funding rules across both pathways. Evidence that they've passed one of the following program of qualifications or equivalent in the same pathway. So the City and Guilds Level 3 Diploma in Plumbing and Heating, or the BPEC Level 3 Diploma in Plumbing and Heating. Provide our employers risk assessment regarding safe use and storage of hand tools. Apprenticeship portfolio of evidence with signed and dated evidence matrix and declaration of authenticity. And on the 928915 here, we've got the new route, which will be the 928915 confirmation that the accredited certification scheme ACS training has been completed, and confirmation that the apprentice is or will be registered onto the 928999 City and Guilds gas safety assessment aligned to CCM1 and SEMWAT to be completed as the final endpoint assessment component. So we're going to look at that in a little bit more detail shortly. Plumbing and Heating Domestic 9289. As we were saying, we're having some glitches, so it's now decided it doesn't want to move screens. Bear with me a second. There we go. City and Guilds Level 3 Endpoint Assessment for Plumbing and Domestic Heating Technician. So we've got the Domestic Air Source Heat Pump and Solar Thermal Systems Technician, 928913. And we've got the Domestic Gas-Fired Hot Water and Heating Appliance Technician, 928912 or 15, dependent on the route. So looking at the core assessments. For the 928912 and 15, so we've got the knowledge test, which is the core paper 1, which is 60 questions. And then for the 928912 route, we've got paper 2, which is achieved during ACS. And for the 928915 route, paper 2 is achieved during 9289-99 gas safety assessments aligned to CCN1 and SEMWAT. Practical planning test is, as we've seen previously, across the whole of the 9289. The practical competence test, so core tasks 3, again, are the same tasks that we've seen across previous endpoint assessments, but we're going to look at in further detail. For the 9289-12, task 4 is achieved during ACS, and for 9289-15, task 4 is achieved during the 9289-99 gas safety assessment aligned to CCN1 and SEMWAT. And then we've got the interview by the apprenticeship portfolio of evidence. For the 9289-13, again, we've got the knowledge test, the core paper, 60 questions, same across all of the 9289 elements of the EPA. We've also got the pathway papers. So paper 2A is 30 questions, and this is around air source heat pump systems. And pathway paper 2B, which again is 30 questions. This is around solar thermal hot water systems. Practical planning test, again, the same as what we've seen in the EPA across all of the 9289 program. Practical competence test. So we've got the core, which is the 3 tasks, again, same in all routes for 9289. And then we've got the pathway. So we've got 4 tasks there. So we've got task 4A, which is a part install of an air source heat pump system, 4B, which is a fault diagnosis, 4C, which is part install of a solar thermal, and 4D, which is fault diagnosis of solar thermal. Excuse me. We've got an interview for underpinned by the apprenticeship portfolio of evidence, but with 5 additional questions around air source heat pump systems and solar thermal. With regards to the assessments, obviously, for learners to pass, they need to pass in all of the assessments, so assessment 1, 2, 3, and 4 to be able to get pass grade. For distinction level, they need to get distinction in the knowledge test 1 and also in the underpinning interview portfolio. So there's the guidance there. This is all in the handbook, in the EPA handbooks. So looking at the assessment here for the 9289-13, sorry. So we've got the core paper, as I've just spoke about, which is 9289-300. This is 60 questions. It's a straightforward multiple choice, 2 hours. It's the same core paper that's sat across all of the pathways for the 9289. And then for papers 2A and 2B, so each paper, so again, 2A will be around air source heat pump systems, 30 multiple choice questions in 1 hour. And paper 2B will again be 30 questions, multiple choice in 1 hour around solar thermal heating systems. Practical planning test for the 9289-13. So again, 5 hours, same assessment that we've seen across all of the 9289 routes. Nothing new in there. Apologies. And then for the practical assessment, so for the practical assessment for the 9289-13, we've got tasks 1, 2, and 3, which are the core. So again, these are the same assessments that are carried out across all of the 9289 routes. But for the 9289-13, we've got the tasks 4A and B. So as I mentioned before, you've got a part install of a domestic air source heat pump system and a fault diagnosis task in 4B. And then for 4C, you've got a part install of a solar thermal system, and 4D again is a fault diagnosis of that system. Timing wise, so for tasks 1, 2, and 3, we've got 7 hours. And for tasks 4A and B is 6 hours, and tasks 4C and D is 8.5 hours. So tasks 1, 2, and 3 completed in 1 day. Tasks 4A, A, B, C, and D, 14.5 hours must be completed over 2 days. The interview, so assessment 4, interview underpinning by apprenticeship portfolio. This is 9289-704. So again, this is for the 9289-13 route. So you've got 1 hour and 30 minutes. So you have 10 questions around the core, and then there'll be 5 additional questions over 30 minutes around air source heat pump systems and solar thermal. Singles level 3 endpoint assessment for plumbing and domestic heating technician. So this is the 9 to 8, 9, 12 and 15 routes. So we've already launched the 12, but we'll just run through some of the changes between what's different between the 12 and the 15. So for this route, just to run through how the program would work. So we've got the on program. So enroll apprentice on EPA Pro, including expected date, ready for EPA. Apprentice passes the on program qualification. Apprentice compiles a portfolio of evidence for their EPA. Gateway process, so provider submits evidence forms on EPA Pro. At Gateway, assessment components can only be booked after Gateway has been approved. And then we've got assessment method 1, so this is the core paper, which is a non-integrated. Assessment method 2, which is the practical planning test, again non-integrated. Assessment method 3, which is practical planning tests 1, 2 and 3. And then we've got assessment 4, which is the interview underpinned by the apprenticeship portfolio. And then we've got the integrated assessment. So the apprentice passes their ACS or ACS equivalent 9 to 8, 9, 99 if they're on the 15 route. And they've completed once they've completed all of the non-integrated assessments. So for the core, for the 9 to 8, 9, 12, 15, so we've got the practical planning test. So this is the resources, the practical competence test. For the core exam, and we've got the interview. This is the same across the 12 and the 15. So looking at assessment 1, the knowledge paper. So this is the 9 to 8, 9, 300. Again, it's the same core knowledge paper that we've seen across all of these components. So 60 questions, multiple choice across 2 hours. Paper 2 will be dependent on whether they're registered on the 9 to 8, 9, 12, where they'll do the 9 to 8, 9, 707. So it's the ACS externally. Or if they're registered on the 9 to 8, 9, 15, which will be the 708, which is going to be the internal Sitting Guilds matters of gas safety 9 to 8, 9, 99. Practical planning test, again, this is the same that we've seen across all of the routes within the 9 to 8, 9. It's the same practical planning test. 5 hours must be completed over 2 working days. Then for the 9 to 8, 9, 12 gas-fired hot water system, we've got tasks 1, 2 and 3 for the core. Task 4 is the integrated assessment. So tasks 1, 2 and 3, 7 hours. Again, as we've seen across all of the routes for the endpoint assessment for the 9 to 8, 9. So for the 9 to 8, 9, 12, 15 gas-fired hot water system, so this is the professional discussion. So again, 1 hour, 10 multiple questions around the portfolio, learner's portfolio. So this assessment is the 9 to 8, 9, 702. So for the 9 to 8, 9, 12, for learners that are registered on 9 to 8, 9, 12, they're going to do the integrated assessment, which is the 9 to 8, 9, 707. So this component is only required for 9 to 8, 9, 12. So this is the ACS endpoint assessment integrated qualification, which means both qualifications and the apprenticeship should be completed and passed and awarded during the same period. So in the EPA pack, this comes under section 10. So section 10 covers the requirements for the gas safety assessment aligned to CCM 1 and SEMWAT within the EPA pack. For the 9 to 8, 9, 15, so this is where we'll be looking at the 9 to 8, 9, 99 City and Guilds gas safety assessment aligned to CCM 1 and SEMWAT. So this is in section 11 within the EPA pack. So assessment information, integrated assessments 9 to 8, 9, 708, which is the 9 to 8, 9, 99 City and Guilds gas safety assessment aligned to CCM1 and SEMWA. All the information's there. It's within the EPA packs. So section 10, if you're registering on the 928912, where ACS is completed externally or separately, and then if you're doing the City and Guilds Matters of Gas Safety papers, it's 9289, which is the 928915. So looking at the 928999, assessment method 1 will be a knowledge paper. So this is knowledge test paper 2. So it'll consist of the CCM1 or equivalent theory tests and core domestic gas safety qualification. The SEMWA is equivalent to theory test for domestic gas, central heating boilers and water heaters. The integrated assessment methods form part of the apprenticeship EPA, as well as the awarding of the qualification. Assessment method 3 is the practical competence task 4. Task 4 is the integrated assessment methods. So integrated qualifications, the practical assessments used for CCM1, core domestic gas safety, and SEMWA, domestic gas, central heating boilers, water heaters, or other equivalent qualifications which meet the relevant matters of gas safety requirements equivalent to the above. So looking at this matters of gas safety assessed aligned to CCM1 and SEMWA. So the units within the 9289 will be the 9289-050, which is the assessments aligned to the core domestic gas safety CCM1. And the second mandatory component is the 9289-051, which are the assessments aligned to central heating boilers and water heaters, which is the SEMWA. So just an overview of the assessment. So we've got the knowledge test, closed book knowledge in vigilated environment. It's on Evolve. So we've got the paper 1 is a 60 multiple choice questions. That's the same for the 9289, 12 or 15. Paper 1 is 2 hours long, and it's a pass, fail, pass distinction. We've got the practical planning tests. So again, this is the same across all of the routes for the 9289. So 5 hours completed over 2 days, straight pass or fail. Practical competence test. So again, we've got the practical demonstration of knowledge. So for the 9289, 12 and 15, we've got the task 1, installation of a cloakroom. Tasks 2 and 3, electrical installation and service of domestic heating system. This is carried out over 7 hours in 1 day, and again, it's a pass or fail. And then we have got the interview underpinned by the apprenticeship portfolio of evidence. Again, 10 questions. It's over a video conference. And this is 1 hour long with a pass, fail, or distinction. Integrated assessments, so accredited certification, SES. So this is assessment method 4. So integrated qualification, which means both qualifications and the apprenticeship should have been completed, passed and awarded during the same period. It incorporates the requirements for the accredited certification scheme and the industry recognised and mandatory entry route for gas engineers. Again, I must apologise, I'm skipping between one slide and another, so I've got a few glitches on this today. So I hope everybody can hear and see what we're doing. Resources, so the handbooks are available. There's access to the 9289 resources. So we've got the City and Guilds Level 3 endpoint assessment for plumbing, heating, domestic, air source heat pump and solar thermal systems. So 928913, we've got the City and Guilds Level 3 endpoint assessment, plumbing, domestic heating technician, for gas-fired hot water appliances technician. So this is 9289, 12 and 15. So the EPA pack covers both of those routes. any other information that you need around the plumbing and heating qualification, or if you need to go and look on the web page, there's a QR code for it there. Again, you'll be able to, you'll have these slides sent to you in the PDF, or if you click on the paperclip, you'll be able to download the PDFs directly from there. EPA process. So I'm hoping that I've got Janice in the background. If you want to come on, Janice.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Can you hear you? Yeah.
Perfect. Hi, everybody. Yeah, my name's Janice Collins. I'm one of 3 partnership managers that support the business with endpoint assessment. So you can reach out to any 3 of us across the business. You've got Rebecca, myself, and Maurice. The contact details are on there, and we're here to support everybody through this process. Next slide, please. Okay, so obviously for these new endpoint assessments, you will need to go through the approval process to get the standards added to your EPA Pro account through using the forms in Walled Garden. So for all our existing customers, you'll obviously already have that Walled Garden account. So you'll just need to go into your quality section, into your forms section, and complete the EPA application form for the different versions. So each of the different pathways has got its own approval requirement as the separate product codes within EPA Pro. If you are a new customer, never worked with us before, and don't have access to EPA Pro or Walled Garden, then the first steps for you to do is to complete the EPA inquiry form on our website to go through that process and get set up with a Walled Garden account. So then you can complete the process, and then there will be onboarding and support for new customers that have never used EPA Pro before. Our lovely team, the Digital Solutions team, will then be in contact to give you some support and training on using the systems as well. The approval process for existing customers is about 3 to 5 days, and for new customers, you're talking a couple of weeks to get through the different elements of getting your Walled Garden account and then getting your EPA Pro account set up. But there's lots of help along the journey. Next slide, please.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, that's all right. So obviously, once you are on board with ourselves, then these standards have pretty much our normal booking process in terms of going through uploading your learners into EPA Pro at any point in the learner's journey, and then you'll go through the normal gateway submission. So you'll upload the learner's evidence into EPA Pro, and our team will then check that evidence. Within 3 days is our SLA. I would say most endpoint assessment gateways get checked within 24, 48 hours as a maximum, and then we'll go on to the booking team. You'll be telling us when in your gateway questions, when you upload your evidence, when you would like the events to take place. So we ask you to provide 3 different dates and times of when that event can take place, and then the booking team will look at any of those in no particular order. So it's not like a priority, just that you give us 3 different dates when the learner is available, and we'll try and match that with an IEPA that's within your area, so with an assessor in your area. Once everything obviously is booked in, the knowledge test cannot be sat, just to make you aware, obviously, until those learners are through gateway. They cannot be done till then. Apologies if my phone just went off then, so apologies, I didn't know that was on. So once the learners are through gateway, you can then book the knowledge test within the Evolve platform using your Walled Garden. And then obviously you'll upload the portfolios to the system once the events have taken place. So normally that will be a 3-week process between events. You've got the learners being uploaded in the gateway and confirmed, and then the events taking place. And then the results will be out within 7 working days after that. And then the digital credential will also be issued. So that we'll also request the ESFA certificate, the skills certificate from Skills England now, and then we'll also issue a digital credential to those learners. So that's obviously process is if you are wanting to get learners through gateway and book during that same period. You do have another option with ourselves for these learners, because obviously some of these learners will be working away. Trying to organise when they're available around workshop space can be quite tricky. So if you run on to the next slide for me, then we'll just take you through the pre-gateway booking process. So we have an option where you can start securing dates for endpoint assessment ahead of the learners going through gateway, which I think is really helpful. So basically, I'm speaking to customers now have got endpoint assessments during the summer period, and we're starting to get those learners provisionally booked into endpoint assessment. It's very helpful in focusing learners in terms of getting their evidence ready, and making sure obviously that you're achieving those achievement rates that you need on time. So how the process works is you must ensure that the learners are uploaded onto EPA Pro, and then you would complete a spreadsheet of the learners that you need to go through endpoint assessment. Now, the difference to this process is that where we're saying evidence and booking is a 3-week period on the normal gateway process, when you're trying to pre-book, we do need you to have the learners through gateway and evidence uploaded earlier. And that's simply because obviously if you decide those learners are not going to go ahead, we have then got time to allocate that date and time to another customer and make sure that those IEPAs are getting that work, and we're not giving them too short a notice for cancellation. So we are looking that you want that 5 weeks before you need to decide whether you need to cancel it because the learners are not ready and you not going to have your evidence ready on time, or everything will be fine, and then proceed with the booking. But it does allow you to plan workshop space in advance, which I think feedback from customers that works really well. But it's just about managing that process. It can be tricky the first time you do it, but it is really important that we're working. You've got the two options. If you don't have to use pre-gateway, but it just helps if you want to plan in advance. You've got particular dates or days of the week that you want endpoint assessments to take place. We can help with that. So if you were interested in understanding that in more detail and going through the process, then just reach out to one of the 3 partnership managers and we'll take you through that process. Next slide. I think is it.
I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Janice. Thank you for that. So just a few updates really on the EPA reforms. Obviously, we're still waiting further guidance around the EPA reform from the government. Just some changes to off-the-job training hours. I think I've spoke to a lot of customers as I've been out travelling at the back end of last year, and I've put this into a lot of the presentations that we've run, so you're more than likely aware of this. But 1st of August 2025, there were some changes around the requirements for off-the-job training. So please, again, check in with the DFE and ensure that you're working to the right off-the-job training hours. Getting involved, really. So if it's something, if you'd like to make a difference, if you'd like to get involved in some of the pre-discussions and the work involved around the development of future BSc qualifications and assessments and support resources, working with us at City and Guilds as an associate or development consultant, then please scan the QR code and get in touch with us. We also have associate vacancies, so there's a variety of contracted associate roles that you may wish to apply for, such as examiners, moderators, independent endpoint assessors, external quality assurance, and external assessors. It's something that I did for a long time before coming into this role. It really helped me to understand when I was delivering to my learners. And again, it may be something that you've thought about, but by all means, dip onto the website, have a look, see if there's anything in there that interests you. There is a feedback, so again, you'll get these slides sent out to you, or if you want to click on the paperclip, you should be able to access the PDFs. So when you get 5 minutes, if you can just give us a little bit of feedback on this today. I know we've had a few glitches. I've been battling with my mouse trying to get between one slide and another, but I hope we pretty much managed to cover a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, all my notes that I'd got to read disappeared before we went into this, but we'll go to questions. So I'm just going to start going through a few of these questions. I'm sure they've been answered, but can ACS be carried out at the college the learner has trained as we are now with the ICEs. Yes, ACS or the City and Guilds Blue Flame assessments are assessed and quality assured by the college as they are now. This is not carried out by the endpoint assessor. The City and Guilds endpoint assessor will basically just be checking the certificate. We'll be using the Blue Flame knowledge papers as we are now. Yeah, basically 928912 is for the centres who want to outsource the gas assessments and use the ACS. The 928915 is for centres who want to register on the 928999 and use the City and Guilds Blue Flame materials as they do now. So Shane, so you had some issues with hearing, but I'm guessing you're okay now. So any other questions coming through? There's one or two here. Any other questions at all? Just I'm going to quick run through, see what I can see. I think the team have answered everything that I can see so far. Please feel free to drop any more questions into the chat. Again, apologies for the technical issues we've had today. But I hope we've managed to cover everything that you needed to see. Thanks, David. No problem. Hope we've enjoyed it today. Can continue to do the ICES pre-EPA. No centres cannot register onto the 92899 and carry out assessments until on programme has been carried out and certified, as this was part of the gateway. Just looking down, scrolling through, see if there's any more questions. Feel free to add in more questions. Just a reminder, so the ICES in question papers or the ACS assessments can only be done during the EPA process as the fourth assessment. So once all the other components of assessment tasks 1, 2, 3, and 4 have been completed. Just checking for any more questions. Bear with me, sorry about this. Yeah, there's a lot of information there to take in and consume, and I appreciate that. As you know, as well now going to those EPA packs and having a read through. Please feel free to come back to me with any questions externally outside of this webinar, and if there is any questions that we feel that we need to put into a frequently asked questions sheet, we'll do that and add it to the website. I answered that one. There's a couple of repeat questions. I'm just trying to make sure that we've answered everything that we. Unless I've missed anything, I think we've got through all the answers there. One from Philip there. I can't see any specific question papers for the practical design. Where are they? Rob sent a link there, so there's a link in the question there to the papers. Daryl there, so we cannot do the papers until the on-site portfolio has been completed and claimed. Yeah, that's correct, Daryl. The training can be done during the OP delivery and will be EQA'd, but assessments can only be completed post-gateway as per the assessment plan. Can't see any further questions. I'll just hang on for another 2 or 3 minutes, see if there's anything else that comes through. We've managed to cover everything that you need today, and again, I'd appreciate there's a lot to take in. Just checking if I've seen another question pop up. I'll hang on for another 3 or 4 minutes. There's no rush. If there's any further questions that you have that you might want to ask. Just checking, make sure I'm not answering questions I've already answered. Currently, we carry out blue flame papers before opening gateway. That is because at the moment it's part of the qualification, and now it has been moved to the employer by the employer group to the EPA. So for 9189, it's in line with 1.0 assessment plan. However, for 1.2 assessment plan, the 9289, there is a clear requirement for matters of gas safety assessments to be completed as the 4th assessment component of the EPA. Hope that answers your question, Daryl. I know it's a different standard, sorry, but will 907475 continue to be ICEs and then EPA with the gas safe reg? Yeah, we're running a webinar for the new 9075 on program. I think that's registered, or it's booked in for the 27th of February. Just for a little bit of information, I appreciate some people have dropped off now, but we will maybe be looking to move away from GoToWebinar to a different platform, but just keep an eye out for notifications on that. We have had a few problems recently within the team around GoToWebinar recently, as I've witnessed myself today. Hey Philip, I think you're having some issues with that link. We'll probably look to pick that up outside of this meeting, and I'll look with you if that's okay. Again, Daryl, can we claim the gas and on-site portfolio to open gateway? The portfolio is part of the qualifications, yeah. No, I can't see anything else new that's coming through at the moment. I'm just keeping an eye out. I know we've got quite a few people that are dropping off now. Do we have to apply for approval for 9289.99? I believe there's a fast track approval form. I don't know if product can answer any of that. It can answer that, but if not, I'll come back to you, Daryl, Neil, sorry, on that one. Daryl, so do we need to complete the blue flame papers after the ICEs have been completed? No, they can be done in any order. I'm not seeing anything else coming through at the moment. I'll give it another minute and then we'll probably close this webinar down for today. Again, if there's any questions or if we need to do an FAQ sheet, we'll put that together. Anything that comes to mind after this webinar, or if you go away and have a look through the EPA packs and you want to ask me, by all means, reach out to me or any of the product team. I'll be happy to help, or if we need to set up a Teams call, no problem doing that. I think we've come to an end of the questions. Thank you for everybody that's joined us today, and I hope that you've got something out of that. I know, like I say, I do appreciate there's a lot to take on board there. But again, if you do need any further assistance or guidance, then please feel free to reach out, and I'll look forward to catching up with you all soon. Cheers. Thank you, everybody. Thanks. Cheers. Thanks a lot. Bye.